those are a lot of different struggles, right? I mean, there's like 6 or 7 different things that any individual one of those will ruin your business, right? If they're not in lock. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus because we want to make sure we give actionable things for the next 30 days, right? All right, welcome to the RED is kind of the acronym. We're still trying to figure out how I'm going to do the intro. To be honest, I'm not really sure, but it's called the RED, Real Estate Dojo podcast. My name is Tyler Austin, founder and CEO of REISift, and this podcast is dedicated to bringing people on. If I can breathe, I'm going to take a sip of my Gatorade so I don't die. All right. So it's dedicated to realistically, getting people to the next step, right? We want to understand what they got going on in their business and how we can give some actionable advice for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to get results, right? You as a listener, you might be able to resonate with where they're at in their business, and then you might be able to resonate with the advice that I give in order to kind of make that difference, make that change, even if it's one nugget. This is real situations. These are real people. These are real investors in many different situations that are looking to really save money, increase net profits, and ultimately close more deals consistently in their business. So today we have Jermar with us. I think I got the name right. We'll verify when I bring him on here. And he's out of Atlanta. I think he's got a partner in his business as well. So we'll kind of dig into that a little bit. Let's go ahead and bring him in here. Jermar, brother, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you being vulnerable because that's really the biggest thing about this, right? Like the vulnerability of going on and letting other people hear like, oh, wait, so you're not doing $1 million a month in real estate? Oh, my goodness. Like I thought everybody makes $1 million a month in wholesaling. So I appreciate it. Go ahead and bring us back, kind of what you're doing for real estate. Give us a fast forward, 10X kind of speed on where you were, kind of what got you into it and where you're at now. And then I'll start digging into kind of, what you're doing in your business.
Okay. Prior to getting into real estate or wholesaling, I was in the construction field. I was a welder. I kind of got into it when I was younger. My parents did real estate, a lot of buy and holds. They had maybe 30, 40 properties buy and hold. So I had like my first taste of kind of real estate and how the wholesale worked. This is maybe back in 2002, maybe. At least where I was from, wholesaling wasn't really sexy because they consider it like the entry level to real estate, so it's not as sexy as it is now. Um, and the wholesale fees for the most part, at least around the people that I know, was like 5-10 grand at the most, so it wasn't that sexy. So I heard wholesale maybe when I was 14, 15, but it never really I guess connected to me until maybe about 2 years ago, of course, seeing Max Maxwell, Tony Closer and everybody, Pace and everybody's kind of make it look sexy now. So that's kind of how I stumbled across real estate. Of course, everybody sees Max Maxwell and, he's, doing things, driving, nice cars, visiting everywhere. So, of course, everybody wants kind of that lifestyle. And that was kind of my ambition too, because I want to live more freely. So I quit $100,000 a year job to do wholesaling, and now I'm not. In the past year and a half, I haven't really made any money. Maybe 2 years now, I haven't made any money. So I totally quit a 100K job, and but it occupied my time. Those 12-hour days. I was away from home a lot. I was away from home maybe 8 months out of the year.
Okay.
So, and then I moved around a lot, so I wasn't able to get consistent at one particular market because I kept moving around. Once I get comfortable with one market, I have to move. Then, I try for another market. So I figured, why don't I just quit, and I had savings saved up and everything. And when I quit, unfortunately, maybe 3 weeks before COVID hit.
Yep.
And so I had a bunch of money saved up and everything, and COVID hit. And during that time COVID hit, it was a tough time, 2020. I lost my mother during that time, battled with cancer. Then a month later, lost my grandmother. Then maybe a month later out of that, I lost my cousin. So three close people to me, died. It was 2000 was rough, man. It was not because of COVID. So that was my kind of downfall. I did get a deal. It was a JV deal, but it's maybe a year and a half ago. So I really don't consider it a deal in my book. I like to eat what you kill type thing. So
Right.
I want to go from start to finish, and I say hey, I got a deal.
Okay.
Um, that was 2020. I'm here. I just started back again January 1st of January. I started back. I got I got two cold callers. And at first, I was doing it with another partner, and then me and that partnership didn't work out. So now I have my recent partner, Renee. I thought she would be here, but she may be busy. I have my partner, Renee. We have, like I said, we have two co-Harlows. It's me and Renee. So, and
Okay.
Renee closed 3 deals already. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So we're gonna kind of dig into that because I'm curious on how that kind of works like that. She's closed 3 deals, but that's not you guys closing 3 deals since she's
yes,
closed 3 deals. And so I kind of want to understand a little bit more about that. What I'm going to do is we're kind of going to start down from the top to the bottom here on kind of some of these things that we'd like to understand a little bit about kind of what's going on. So you already mentioned the cold callers earlier before we started recording. You had mentioned actually one of those cold callers is gone now.
yep.
So as of right now, one of the things I love to know off the bat is right now, if you didn't make any more deals for 6 months, like what is your monthly budget in your business?
I could do $500 a month.
Five
That's
hundred
just
dollars a month
marketing. That's not what
marketing.
yeah.
What about total in operations, like as a company? And this includes everything, right?
Uh, about 1,000 to 1,200,
1,000, 1,200.
1,300. Yeah.
And why is that? Why is it 1,000 to 1,200?
Um,
Is it
because
because you
right
have
now,
10 grand?
because I have 10 grand, I don't have
Is it
10 grand.
is it because you might have 10 grand and like you're eating towards it, or like where's this money coming from? Is that from your partner, or is
Uh,
it from you, or
no, both of us. So I kind of work during the day too.
okay?
I
So
just
you have
do
another
as
job.
an end job. Being that I'm a welder, it's a trade that
Okay.
doesn't really go away.
So the real answer is realistically, you don't have any money for the
Sure,
business. Is really
sure,
the real answer, right?
sure.
We try to figure out like how we can spend money, in order to like make something happen. But what we end up doing is we justify spending money then because we can make it work, right? But
Hmm.
ultimately, all this does as a person, as a business, is this really makes us more stressed than anything, because now we have money going out and we're trying to watch for money to come back in. So that's the first thing we got to be really careful of, which is why I said earlier that I was happy that I heard that your cold caller quit, right?
Okay.
Because we realistically, we don't need that. Like, because if we already have one cold caller, we're not closing any deals, right? It's not the answer isn't, continuing to do something that isn't necessarily working. What a lot of people do is they're like, oh, I just need another cold caller and we're just going to call because we just need more leads. And that's not really the answer. The answer is you need more deals. And they don't directly correlate all the time, more leads to get more deals. Sometimes it's just a matter of, contacting the right person, and that person might be one individual that you might not have reached before. So we just got to understand those metrics, right? We got to understand what is the real thing, because what we don't want to do is go another 6 months. I mean, we could kind of, since January, we don't got anything kicking off, and we know what to do, but is it really happening? That's really the big thing. Like, we know what it is that it takes to get a deal. We know what direct mail is. We know what data is. We know what, tax delinquency is. We know all these things. We have a lot of knowledge, but why is that when I try to execute it, I don't get anything, but when someone else in my same market executes it, somehow they're getting deals? Well, generally that answer is that we're not really actually executing. We're giving away the power of execution to somebody else, and that automatically prolongs something from happening, because now we got to wait 3 4 5 6 months for that right deal to come from something. So we're going
Hmm.
to talk a little bit about that, but I want people to understand a little bit more about kind of what we're doing here. Kind of like what you said your struggles are, before actually coming on here. So staying consistent at the little things, following up, sending direct mail. How many times to skip trace before you even send direct mail? What is considered a lead? And then maybe trying to make sure that your partnership is on the same page, right?
Hmm.
those are a lot of different struggles, right? I mean, it's like 6 or 7 different things that any individual one of those will ruin your business, right? If they're not in lock. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus because we want to make sure we give actionable things for the next 30 days, right? Because ultimately, the direct mail portion of things doesn't matter. The staying consistent part is something that can be eliminated or fixed through process, right? Doing it though, however, is a whole nother story because that requires, it doesn't matter how many, spreadsheets or how many checklists or how many anything you put into place if it doesn't actually get started. So the starting part is ultimately the hardest part that most people have to overcome. So we'll talk about that. Moving on from that, though, you said you had one cold caller. Your partner does most of the marketing itself. No deals. You're doing some SMS and cold calling. Your tools you're using is REI Reply, REISift, Calltools, Vumber, and Skipforce for skip tracing. Is there any other expenditures outside of those 4 tools right now?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So run me through real quick so I have an idea, right? So your cold
Okay.
callers, right? Like what does that look like? What is, if I were to say, hey, I want to understand from the very beginning of your cold calling like operation to the very end of it, like what is the life cycle of like the record and then to the lead and then to like a deal or up to the point of like getting a contract signed?
Okay. Currently, what I'm doing,
Yeah,
or
what you're doing. Yeah.
well, I haven't got a deal, so I wouldn't know that part. Or we
Up
haven't
to
got
the
a deal
part where you're
together.
going to send a contract. Up to the point where you're like, cool, I got a lead. I'm sending a contract. Like this person is ready to sign.
Okay. And you want to know the numbers to it.
Uh, I want to know like what would it look like if I said
Okay.
Jermar, I want you to come down to my market tomorrow, right? And you've never been in my market, but here's $1,000. I want you to start cold calling in my market. What's
Okay.
that look like? And you have one cold caller, like you do now.
Okay. I will first run to the county and pull records. I will maybe go to maybe Listsouce or somewhere. Well, first I will start with the county. If it's only $1,000, I will start with the county, pull the data. Uh, I will put it in SIF and see what it brings me out. I will look for vacants, maybe first, maybe some absentee, maybe out of state, and I will send it to the cold callers. And I will have her cold call, 8 hours a day. Um, After the 8 hours, of course, what leads come in, I will call the leads. Now, the type of leads, I think that's maybe one of my concerns. What do we consider a lead? Um, Most people say somebody that says they want to sell, but I realize when I get on the phone, a lot of people say yeah they'll sell if it depends on the number. So a lot of people that's in my leads or my CRM, I kind of disqualify them because they're just kind of looking for a number, searching for a number for the most part. So I don't know if I consider that a lead or not. Um, and that's my pretty much my process down to the
So
contract.
let's go
Okay.
let's go a layer deeper then on that right
Okay.
now in your process. Day over day, if
hmm
I asked you right now, if I said, Jamar, man, I want to see the last month of your cold callers efforts.
Okay.
Can you open anything up to show me on the first week of April, how many dials, how many leads, how many wrong answers? Like, are you tracking what your caller's doing at all?
Not necessarily. I'm tracking more of
How many leads?
the,
Like,
the
did you
yeah,
get?
like leads and maybe how many not interested. So it's
Yeah.
more not so much the cold call as so much the data, pretty much.
So is your cold caller giving you any daily report?
Yes.
Okay. Is it simply how many leads I generated, or is it include how many dials they made as well, and then
Yes.
how many answers they had,
Yes.
and then how many leads were generated?
hmm
Okay. As long as that's happening, then we're good, right? So
Okay.
theoretically speaking, we could look back and we can see, okay, we dialed 10,000 numbers and I have 4 leads,
hmm
right? As long as you know that answer, and as long as you know that a lead in your database is someone who is interested in receiving an offer, And that's truly what a lead is. A lead is someone who's interested in selling an offer. Now, if it's warm, hot, or cold is a different story.
Okay.
But there's layers to that. Like okay, I'm interested in selling. Like if you were to go want to get a vehicle right now, you driving on the car lot, you're a lead, right? Just driving on the car lot, you're a lead, right? Just going to their website, you're a lead, right? You've converted, and now that you've shown interest. Now, you could drive on a lot all day. It doesn't mean you're buying a vehicle today, right? But the interest is in the back of your mind. And over time, that's going to brew. It's going to slowly eat at you. And as soon as you get enough money or whatever happens, like, you're going to return back, right? It might take 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, whatever, but it's going to happen, right? Now, are you going to buy the vehicle you wanted, or are you going to buy something cheaper? Who knows? Are they going to sell to you at a discount, or are they going to list on the MLS? Who knows? But the fact that they're interested, right, says that over time, something, and at some point, that person is going to sell. See, a lot of people, they look at it like they're trying to generate leads, but really what you're doing is you're generating correct numbers, right?
Okay.
All that, the most powerful thing about a conversation in our business is the fact that that is the correct number for that human being. And now I can continue to follow up. That's why I love no's, right? With records that are going to tax auction in like 4 months or whatever, they don't want to sell. I'm like, fuck yeah, they said no. Why? Because I know I have the correct number now. At minimum, now I can follow up, right? We're creating follow up, we're creating pipeline. We need to get to the point where, though, we have a conversion so that we know how many of those leads create an actual contract. At that point, now we can figure out, let's figure out how to scale this. Because if we now, if now we know, okay, it took 20,000 dials, it ended up being 50 leads, and now I have a contract, right? Then fantastic. That in itself is now a metric I can run off of. And because you understand, okay, I need to update my phone numbers, I need to do all the hygienic things, you've just done that cheaper than anybody else in your market, right? Now you just need to replicate it. And we just need to do that consistently. And over time, now we start thinking about things like, okay, well, now I need to make sure that how do I make this more efficient? How do I, maybe instead of 50 leads, how do I get it down to where I only need 25 leads, right? But right now we just need money, right? Like we need fucking something in our account. We need to start getting this business to pay for the business, because we don't have money right now, right?
Yes.
It's coming out of our pocket. Our business is negative every single month, and it continues to get there over and over and over and over. And it's the most demoralizing feeling when we're not getting traction. So people start spending more money to hopefully, make it happen. And that's not true. So when I said I gave you $1,000 to come down here, the real answer, right, is that Jermar is going to take that $1,000 and he's going to buy like 15 Red Bulls, and he's going to sit on the phone and he's going to make a fuck ton of phone calls against, vacant data or tax delinquent data, right? That's the real answer. Your partner is going to make a fuck ton of phone calls, and you're going to get the metric. You can't hire out when you don't have money, when you don't even know what the hell they're supposed to produce.
Okay.
You know what I mean? How are you supposed to know like what kind of profitability this human being is in your company if you don't even know how much money you can make? And right now is zero. So if it's zero now and they're calling, you don't know if you're going to spend $5,000 on this cold caller before you generate 10,000 or 10,000 or 20,000. And if you don't have that bandwidth, what's going to happen is you're going to go 3, 4, or 5 months, and then you're just going to stop. Right? I'm not saying you actually are, because you would just continue working, continue fueling it because of your ambition. But that's the problem with hiring to do, right? And it all starts in the very beginning there of who am I focusing on? Who am I spending the money on? And am I actually tracking the results of that? And if they're only generating 2 leads a day, 1 lead a day, I know that it's going to take at least 50 to 60 of those leads potentially to get a deal. I can forward project and say it's not going to be 90 days. I'm already, $4,000 in the hole, and my deal might fall through. And it might end up being another 90 days. And all because we're focusing on just cold calling, all because we have a cold caller, right? And when all reality, we should be being a lot more aggressive on the personal side. and that's truly how it needs to be. Like when we first started Florida Cash Real Estate, my acquisitions was the one making all the phone calls against all the niche data. We didn't hire a VA until we made over 250 grand, right? And she started cold calling other random stuff, right? And the only reason we did it was because we looked at her like 15,000 a year to be able to hit another 100,000 phone numbers a year. That's going to kick up X amount of more revenue because we already know that number, because we know how much it took for us to get the call. So we can assume there's a there's a variance because they're not going to be as good as us, right? Generally 50% less than us on the phone. So it's probably going to be half of whatever it takes. But here's the beautiful thing about real estate. Here's the beautiful thing about marketing. If we're going to be using a cold caller, we're going to be spending money on a cold caller. Imagine if you and your partner did a cold calling, produced your prospects, and instead of spending like $600 to $900 or even $1,200 a month on cold calling, now all the people you're cold calling, you're also sending 500, pieces of direct mail, right? So now you're outbound prospecting, but also producing some inbound results, right? So now you can kick up a lead from that, because the problem is those people might not want to be talking to you on the phone, right? So ultimately what you need to do in your business, you're already super, super lean, right? But I feel like you don't have the budget to be hitting a bunch of people through the cold calling. And what's happening is so you're hitting the small amount of people, but she's the one doing that. So the conversion to a lead is very, very low quality. And so what's happening is you're following up and they're not really interested. And it's going to continue in this cycle until finally she has the person on the phone who really doesn't care. They're really, really desperate, which happens. But it's not going to be something you can track and measure, right? It's going to be kind of false. And then if you don't have a really, really good follow-up system in place, you're going to have those 50, 60, 70 leads or whatever. Most people are going to give that power over to an automation, which means they're not even going to be nurtured as well as they should be. And now, because you're now trying to do follow-up when you should be making offers or prospecting, creating opportunity, it just becomes chaotic. When if you were making the calls and someone was interested, you should be able to give them an offer on the phone right then and there. So now, instead of waiting to be able to receive, a lead every 3 days from your cold call to make an offer, now you can make an offer 6 times a week instead of only once, or whatever the scenario is, because you already got them on the phone. You don't have to play the catch-up game, the follow-up, right? We have to be very aggressive at this stage of business. So if you have a VA, right, and they're doing something, put them on a blanket data set, something that's pretty wide, like straight all of vacant data, right? Have them call it 3 times, skip trace it in another location, have them cold call it through it another 3 times. In the meantime, you and your partner need to be cold calling if you're not, right? And you should be doing that for at least 3 to 5 hours a day, right?
Okay.
In addition to that, because you just lost a cold caller, now that potentially opened up funds, if you are going to continue spending money, that money you just sent with funds, that needs to then be redirected into hitting some out of state no phone number records. It doesn't matter whether they're skip trace 2 times, 3 times, anywhere. It just needs to be out of state, vacants or tax delinquency, probates, and if you spend $100 a month, even hitting 50 records, right? 50 records, $100 a month, or 100 records, $100 a month. That's way more powerful, because you're going to generate a response at some point after 3 months or 4 months, and you're kind of building out this pipeline, and it costs you $300, right? So action items. I'm gonna mention after I ask one more question. Why is it that your partner has 3 deals but you don't have 3 deals? How is that relationship right now? Look.
How does she have 3 deals? She had 3 deals prior to us.
Prior to you two.
Yes.
Okay, so you guys joined in January together, or
Actually March,
March.
February, end of February.
End of February. Okay. So now combined, you guys haven't gained anything more, right?
No.
So how come you guys came together to begin with, out of curiosity?
It was just more like a relationship we kind of started in, I guess, the real estate together. We joined all the same, followed all the same people, and we just connected, and it was just a friendship. And she kind of enjoyed like the marketing side, which that side I kind of hated. I
Yeah.
got overwhelmed with it. I felt like I got overwhelmed with it, and I like more of the sales side of it. So since she hated the sales side, we just figured, why don't we get
Complement
together?
each other well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. On that front, do you guys own an LLC together?
No, we don't.
Okay. So you're both sole proprietors?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any formal agreement in place?
No.
Okay. So, okay, a few things. First and foremost, number one, you guys aren't partners, right? You guys are doing this business linear, right? Unless you guys are both putting equal share in a business account and separating it, there's no real partnership there. So if you want to actually be partners, right, then make it so, right, legally. Define who is responsible for what, because we're not dealing with kindergarten kind of stuff here. We got real business, we got real shit going on, and if we're not producing money but we're spending money, somebody has to be liable for that, right? Somebody's failing. Who's failing in this business relationship? Is it you? Is it her? Is it both of you? And if you don't have that outlined, then you have nothing to stand on, right? Neither of you, right? You're both at fault. So
Mm-hmm.
make sure you get that fixed, first and foremost. Operating agreement, LLC, make it tangible. For the money you're spending in marketing, but to not actually have a valid business doesn't make any sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me. So I would get that in line. If she's going to do marketing, then she's going to do marketing. That means she needs to be on the phone, because what is she doing if she's not on the phone? You see what I'm
She's
saying?
yeah.
Like, is she cold calling?
She's SMS and she's answering phone, from SMS
Yeah. So
or jumping on the phone from SMS.
it's not aggressive enough, right?
Okay.
She's doing the job that the VA should be doing,
Okay.
right? Like, she needs to be on the phone. She's boots on the ground in Atlanta, right? Or
Yes.
around some, yeah. So she needs to be on the phone. She might not like it, but it doesn't matter what we like or what we don't like when our business can't afford it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our businesses need to give us the luxury of being able to outsource, right?
Okay.
If that VA, or she should, honestly, you guys should fire the VA, and she should just be cold calling, and also SMSing at the same time. When you're cold calling, you can also be SMSing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing, but yet we're paying somebody else to do that at the same time, and we don't have that money. Like, she should be generating that. And this is why the legal thing's important, because then she generates the opportunity. She talks to the person, generates the lead, and then she kicks it over to you. What if she locks it up right then and there?
Mm-hmm.
What if they're really motivated? Like she just did the whole thing by herself, right? She didn't actually need Jermar,
Yeah.
right? So we need to figure out, what does it really look like? We don't want to be just aimlessly kind of floating through the void and trying to do this, because what'll happen is we'll just spend a shit ton of money. You have all the right tools, right? You have a good REI reply, REISift. What I would prefer to see, I mean, I don't know, but Vumber is click to call, I'm sure. What I would do is I would simply I would set an objective. All right. And this is the actual action item takeaways from this. Okay. First and foremost, if you're going to keep a cold caller, they need to be hitting blanket something, right? If that's going to be SMS, whatever, but I'd prefer it not to be SMS, because SMS becomes very, very expensive. People think it's cheap. It's fucking not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have her hit wide data. Let's say it's all your stack, right? Have her hitting through that. Okay.
Okay.
Your partner, okay, is going to then filter. She's going to filter by your out-of-state vacants. Stick with that, okay? Out-of-state vacants. I don't know what that number looks like, right? But out-of-state vacants. And she's going to use Vumber, and she's going to click through those records. She's going to assign those to her in REISift. She's going to click on each record, and she's going to call the phone numbers. She's going to tag the phone numbers. And then if she doesn't reach them after calling through it, she's going to kick it over to that same VA. And for the later half of the day, in the evening, because your VA is going to cold call in the morning, because it can't cold calling 8 hours a day for a VA. It doesn't fucking do anything. Like to me, it's a waste of time for them to cold call through 8 hours of the day because a lot of times they don't even fucking do it. They might end up actually doing maybe 6, if
True.
that.
True.
Okay. So let's get them having a process of flow. So have them call through the first morning of the day. And then in the evening, they're going to go in REISift and they're going to see, oh, I got assigned 15 records. And then you're going to have them go on True People Search and everything else and find all those information and then kick it back over to your partner.
Okay.
And then she's going to call back through those the next day, And so you're going to churn through and you're going to work through this data. You're going to do single click to call. Okay.
Okay.
And in the meantime, you're going to narrow down between the vacant stacks and out of state. Depending on the number of these, you're going to send those direct mail letters.
Okay.
Okay. If it's more than what you guys can have in your budget, then just eliminate it. If there's a preference over the cold caller versus sending the direct mail, fire the cold caller. Send the direct mail. You and your partner can handle the phones.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're like, oh, I don't have the money, you're spending $650 a month for them. That would be 1,200 or something postcards. That means that whether you're at work or she's at work or whatever hell's happening, there's still an opportunity for a lead to come in, and it's going to be way more high value lead than what would come from generally SMS. All right. So we're creating this bounce. We're creating this, kind of this little ecosystem of, okay, cool. I got all of my vacants. I got all my stacks. Somebody else is, working through the bulk of that now because I have nothing else to do because I've hired somebody to give me 8 hours of the day. What the fuck am I going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do the same thing they're doing, but better. Right. So now we're really, they're 50% of the value. I'm 100%. We're going to go 150%, but I'm going to put an extra 25% of effort. So now we're at 175. Okay. And I'm going to focus in narrow on those. I'm going to click the call. The ones I don't reach, I'm going to kick over to somebody else, let them find the records, and then I'm going to kick it back. I'm going to call through them again. Meanwhile, I have my direct mail out to the same people I'm trying to reach out to right now. Right? Because I don't know if they're going to answer the phone. I don't want to risk the fact that they don't, but hopefully they'll call back to me. All right. So we're going to need a tracking number for that. You can use the Vumber number for that. We use AirCall, as I'm sure you know in the community. Click to call, and that's it. Right? I really, though, feel like the cold caller is going to be hurting you guys right now. My true advice would be to fire them. I don't like to say to fire people because they have kids, they have everything. They rely on you. So if you can put them to work, put them to work. All right. Just make sure that they're more valuable to you than a 1 to 2 leads a day kind of person, because that's not valuable to you right now in your business. All right. Questions?
Yes. So just to recap of what you just told me. So have the cold caller, if we keep the cold caller, hit the Y data. That's like 2 stacks or more and vacant, did I hear that correct? Okay. Yep. Renee, or my partner, handles out of state vacancy.
Out of state vacancy stacked. Narrow down on that.
Okay, stacked. Okay. Kick it over. All right. What we don't get, or the people we don't get to answer, we kick it over to the VA second half to call.
No, to research. She's gonna find all the phone
research.
numbers.
Okay, research. Okay, find different phone numbers. Okay, perfect. And then she kicks it back over to us, and we redial again. And then we narrow down the out of state and the vacants and send a direct mail.
Yes. You can also just send, depending on the amount of the stacked vacant out of states ones, you can just send direct mail directly to the same people you're trying to reach right now.
Okay, just send it to the people we're trying to reach. Perfect.
Okay.
And then get the partnership. If we're partners, get it legalized.
Become partners. Yeah.
Yes.
If you're gonna be partners, be partners. If she's gonna be the marketing manager and you're gonna be the CEO, then do that.
Okay.
Right? Perfect. And then once you do that, once you do the whole partnership thing, make sure you set what each of you are responsible for in the company to execute on day in and day out, right? I would say both of you, the thing I was saying about Renee doing, really realistically, both of you should be doing that. You should allot a certain amount of records to each of you to handle a week, right? And if that means you got to do it on the weekend, then you got to work on yours on the weekend. If that means she's got to work on hers on the throughout the whole day, then she will. But you got to pick up some of that slack too, because really the success of the company is both a you and her thing. So at that point in the very beginning, there is no true defined singularity roles. It's like hustle your ass off. Everyone do the same thing. And then once you guys start getting money in, it's like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to focus on making sure all these KPIs are reported so that weekly we can see what's going on. And then you can start figuring out what to do from there. But for right now, over the next month, that's definitely the adjustments that I would make.
Okay. And just a question: why the out of state? Of course, the cold callers doing the wide data. Why the out of state vacant double stack? Is it just because it's a smaller, more motivated type list,
Yeah,
or not?
it's just a potential. It's a higher potential that they're not attached
Okay.
to the property. I would prefer even that there's another singularity like vexation there, like tax delinquency, vacant, and then stacked on something else. Something that adds. What I love to see is I love to see something that provides urgency, something that
Okay.
provides something I can solve, right? And then something that means that they're detached from the property. Right. With those three things, it means that, okay, they don't have a reason why they need it. And if they want it and they don't take care of this, then they're going to lose it either way. So it puts them in a predicament where you have the ability to solve the problem that whether they think they have or they don't, it's present.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it creates a much, much more powerful, like the leads that you do have that you're following up with are hot, vexation leads, right? They might not be motivated, but they're hot.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like motivation and being a hot lead are two separate things. I wouldn't be motivated to sell my house, but if I owe $400,000 to the government, I don't have the money, then I'm still pretty hot.
Mm-hmm. I have the potential.
Yeah. So we want to build our lead follow up to be as hot as possible with people that have the higher priority, the higher possibility over time to become super motivated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and then as we get money in our business, now we can start really kind of scaling out of that. We can start hitting more people. We can start digging in a little deeper. We can start sending a little bit more direct mail to create more inbound. We can add Facebook to the mix to create even more inbound. It's all about having that balance between outbound and inbound. You know, a lot of people think that it is more expensive to add in like the direct mail and just hit those, and it's really not. It's in the end, you have a certain budget, you build out, what I call the Viking ship marketing to fit the budget, right? 250 postcards to the hottest prospects. I do everything else manual. I'm super
Mm-hmm.
lean, and I'll scale outside of that, right?
Okay.
Once I get it and I get money in my bank, I need that 30K in my bank.
Okay.
you know Retain as much money as possible to your household. Every $1,250 that you put towards this business without the right systems, the right processes, and the right execution, more importantly, is $1,250 away from you, right?
Yeah.
Which
True.
which is really important right now that we don't give that up.
Okay.
The benefit that you have,
Perfect.
man, is that you have a trade craft, like which is a very valuable trade craft in general. Like welding and doing that has the ability for you to kick up money, simply by posting a post on Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a really good thing that you have that a lot of people don't. So focus more. And that's another thing you guys should be doing actually. And we'll kind of summarize this up is you should be posting on Facebook too. Like just put a post out there like, hey, I'm looking to buy a house, in the area, needs a little bit of work, whatever. I'm a welder and I have, I'm really good with my hands. I'm trying to, flip a property, whatever,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Make sure
I'm
people know what you
terrible at
do.
that. Yeah, I'm terrible at that.
Yeah. Set a reminder, execute. People need to know what you do. People, especially in your trade craft, right? Oh, there's a lot of welders. Welders are blue collar industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you got a lot of guys that know a lot of people that, are in blue collar neighborhoods that are, in situations that they might need to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially after COVID. So, leverage your relationships. People need to know what you do, put it out there, and then clean up this flow. And once you do this with everything I just said right there, use, you can use paper for now, but write it down and write the flow, right? Write the flow and then
Okay.
associate it with a time frame.
Okay.
Cool.
Perfect. Perfect.
Awesome, bro. If you need anything else, let me know. The idea is in the next 30 days to 90 days, you're going to come back on here and we're going to get an update from Jermar on kind of where your
Perfect.
business is at, right? But next time I need to know how much time you dedicated, what you changed, and how much time difference you actually dedicated to the business.
Okay.
Okay. Real time, not
Mhm.
fake time, right?
Mhm.
Not there's a difference between time dedicated to work and time dedicated to being busy, right? We got to make sure we're not being busy. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. And
Cool.
one question before we go.
Yep.
Of course, I'm tracking all this. What are some key things I just need to maybe right now just track?
The core fundamental for calling is how many prospects does it take until I get a lead, and how many phone numbers do I need to dial to get a lead? That's the
Okay.
core, at minimum. And then out of a sidebar one that you can do, especially for the more niche stuff, is how many people will I call through before I actually get the correct contact? Not
Okay.
numbers, but people. Like if you're narrowing down and you have let's say you have 50 properties that you're trying to reach out to, and for every 5 you end up speaking to an actual owner, that means that there's a ratio there. 5, 10, there'd be 5 people out of the 50 that you would actually, I think, 25 people out of the 50, I think. I don't know. I can't do math. But it would be a certain percentage that you would actually reach in that first kind of go around, which means that you can start seeing how many you can do a day,
Okay.
right? And so how many people you're reaching out to, how many end up being the right person, how many people get sent over to your caller, but at minimum, how
Yeah.
many prospects to a lead, how many phone numbers to a lead.
Yeah. And do you advise me to SMS too, or is it just cold calling direct mail?
You should not be doing any mass SMS.
Okay.
Your SMS should be happening anytime you dial a number manually, right? In that process I said, you should
Mhm.
be sending an SMS if it's a mobile.
Okay.
When they pick up, they don't answer. Hey, I was just calling. Give me a call back when you have a chance.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I can do that.
One-off SMS. My preferred combo, like I said earlier, I don't know if Vumber has SMS, but if it doesn't, sales message would be my cheapest, most efficient one-off SMSer, or text magic.
Text magic. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And air call, I think, is in. If you were to join their beta, you can get on their beta for SMS as well.
Okay. Where can I get air call? I looked that up and I couldn't find it. I hear people talking about it.
Aircall.io.
Air call.
Yeah.
.io.
And the most powerful
Yeah,
thing
I see
about
it.
it is you can, if you're on their professional plan, you nix out Vumber and Calltools. Honestly, you could if you wanted to, and you can use their power dialer. You can select the records and then send it to there, and then you can kind of call through all 10 phone numbers by just clicking start, and then let it go through the numbers. Make the disposition from the record, and then move to the next record.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Cool.
Cool.
Perfect.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I look forward to having you back on in the next 30 to 60 days, 90 days.
Looking forward to coming back.
Yeah. And keep me updated, and I'll let you know when this thing gets released.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, no
Appreciate it,
problem, man.
brother.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right. That was awesome. Jermar got hopefully some valuable advice and kind of what he needs to do next 30 days. If you are somebody who wants to be on the Real Estate Dojo, let me know what you got going on so I can give you some quick actionable advice to make sure that you're moving to the next level. You have just the littlest things that might make a big difference, not wasting money. We're really trying to make sure you're saving money, so ultimately receiving more net profits at the end of the day, producing more valuable leads, more leads to prospect, or prospects to leads, and more leads to revenue. Leads to contract doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, right? Because there's a metric in between there, which is contracts to close. What we ultimately care about is the leads that we generate, more of them are being converted into revenue in our business. So appreciate you guys. If you haven't done so already, head over to the YouTube channel, REISift on YouTube, and subscribe. That's where these are going to be posted, as well as checking out us on Spotify, iTunes, and every other location that's out there that's a podcast. We also have a Facebook group, REISift Mastermind Community. Feel free to request access. Let them know that you're from the red inside of the application. Thanks, y'all. Bye-bye.